Welcome to the opening ceremony of Entrepreneurship Awareness Camp, our flagship event. EAC is a dynamic curriculum involving a series of workshops by industry experts providing competency in the strategic decision process of a startup, panel discussion, and a platform to pitch their startups to eminent investors, followed by an opportunity of networking to mobilize their feedback and guidance. On behalf of Entrepreneurship Development Cell of St. Xavier's College Autonomous Kolkata, it is with great pleasure that I extend a warm welcome to each and every one of you. With utmost honor, privilege, and gratitude, I introduce to you Mr. Ish Anand, an esteemed GAA board member at EST FAB, who has over 32 years of experience in the field. He's worked with several Indian, transnational, and multinational businesses from inception to leadership role. He has two successful stints in an entrepreneur. Over the last 10 years, he has continued to, on the one side, be involved in building successful stories in the startup domain, many funded by top tier VC firms, and on the other side, build his own venture investment portfolio. We are extremely thankful to you for taking time out of your busy schedule for a session with us. On behalf of everyone at EDC, I extend my best wishes to all the participants for an insightful learning experience during this session. I now hand over the virtual podium to you, sir.
Thanks, Vanshika. Thank you very much. And good morning to all of you. Am I audible and am I clear?
Yes, sir.
Excellent. Good. So thank you to the EDC at St. Xavier's College. It's a privilege to speak with bright young minds like yourself. And the way I always look at it is that you are the future. You are what is going to drive us as a country and as an economy. So, make use of whatever experience we can share with you. Make use of whatever stories we can tell you. A lot of this is about you learning from our experiences and the stories that we can tell you. But at the end of the day, it's your innovation, your mindset that actually plays the largest role in this entire ecosystem. It's the India story that's going global, and all of you are a very critical and a vital part of it. So thank you very much for attending this. And my last request is, let's make this session very interactive. It's about me sharing my experiences, but it's also about you asking questions and wanting to know more. So be as inquisitive, be as adventurous as you want, and I will be very happy to answer whatever I can. If I can't, I'll tell you very, very clearly that I can't answer this question, and I will come back to you with answers at a later stage. So, let's start the day's proceedings. And once again, thank you very much for having me over. So what I'm going to do is, I prepared a few slides, but it's not about those slides. It's about us speaking with each other. And when I start a session, normally I tend to do it with a small motivational video or something interesting that I've seen in the last few days or weeks or months that I believe all of you should actually make use of. You should think about it. So I'm going to start by sharing a presentation, and I'm going to start by playing a couple of videos for you to really look at over the next few minutes. So just give me a minute. I'll share this presentation. So are all of you able to see the presentation?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. I hope I have the college logo correct. So I was a little skeptical, so I said, let me just make sure I get the correct college logo on the presentation. So just to give you a little background, I've always believed that it's not about what you have all around you, but it's all about the ideology or the values that you put into your own ecosystem. At this, you've got to understand that success is not something that is reserved just for a few. It's an inherent quality that all of you have built into you from a very young age. And it's something that doesn't come automatically. And like I said, it's not a privilege for a few. It's something that you've got to strive very, very hard for. And I've believed and I've seen over a very large span across the globe and over many years that sportsmen are one of the best examples of perseverance, for willing to strive to succeed. And they come from backgrounds that could be underprivileged, they could be privileged, they could be all sorts of things. But the one key piece that they have in them is they have that drive and that inherent quality built into them that they want to succeed. So I'm going to give you the first example. You're all based in Kolkata, and I'm going to give you the first example from the field of football. So I'm sure all of you know who Cristiano Ronaldo is. So there's very few people who would not know Cristiano Ronaldo. So there's a short video about Cristiano Ronaldo, and I want you guys to really have a look at it and see the meaning behind it. So here goes. Sorry, I want to play this. Did you guys hear this line by line? Are you able to get me clearly? Guys, did you get the sound?
No, sir, I don't think the audio was coming through, sir.
Oh, why wasn't the audio coming through? Okay. Give me a minute. Let me figure out back. Very strange. Why was the audio not? Okay. Let me, rather than try and figure out what the issue is, let me check now. Let's see.
People are going to think you're crazy, but you're only crazy until you succeed. Your talent.
Are you guys able to hear it now?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Excellent.
Determines what you can do. Your motivation determines how much you are willing to do. Your attitude determines how good you do. If you don't believe you are the best, then you will never achieve what you are capable of. Dreams are not what you see in your sleep. Dreams are things which do not let you sleep. So don't tell people your dreams. Show them.
Cristiano Ronaldo once said.
I still remember when my teacher told me that football wouldn't give me anything to eat. People are going to think you're crazy.
How many of you know what Cristiano Ronaldo's background is? Does anybody know what his background is? Yes? No?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Who's that? I'm not able to see you on the screen. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Okay. Who gave me that answer?
Sir, it's me, Trisha.
Trisha. Trisha, can you share with everybody what is Cristiano Ronaldo's background?
He's a Portuguese footballer who plays as captain for Saudi Pro League, Saudi Pro League club and Al Nassr and the Portugal national team.
Okay. What I really want to understand or what I want to convey to you through this video is that never stop dreaming. Cristiano Ronaldo never stopped dreaming. He came from a family which was severely underprivileged. He didn't have a father. His father passed away at a very young age. And his mother brought him up. She worked multiple jobs to actually send him to a football academy. And that's where he got going in the space of football. And he ensured that he excelled at everything he did in football. There will be many people who will actually tell you that, guys, startups are not going to give you jobs, they're not going to do this, or entrepreneurship is not going to do this for you. Or, for example, sports is not going to actually help you earn a living. What Cristiano Ronaldo did, he said, I will excel and I will make sure that I earn a living out of the sport that I love. So just try and understand the meaning of this video. Yeah. People thought that he was crazy to think that football could give him a living. Let's listen to it a little further.
But you're only crazy until you succeed. Your talent determines.
So you're only crazy until you succeed. It's your talent that determines what you
can do. Your motivation determines how much you are willing to do. Your attitude
motivation determines how much you're willing to do.
Determines how good you do. If you don't believe you are the best, then you will never achieve what you are capable of. Dreams are not what you see in your sleep. Dreams are things which do not let you sleep. So don't tell people your dreams. Show them.
Cristiano Ronaldo once said.
So what this video tells you is that never stop dreaming. Excel at what you do. So you can dream and dream as much as you want, but make sure that you put in the efforts, the determination, and you have a positive mindset and go out there and work to achieve it. It's being done, and there's no reason why you can't do it. So what you've got to keep in mind is that this is what your future is. What you need to do is you need to ensure that
I still remember when my teacher told me that football wouldn't give me anything to eat. People are going to think you're crazy.
Let's look at one more small video.
However, I couldn't completely miss the chance to take a moment to share some thoughts with all of you. You can't stop people from trying to limit your dreams, but you can stop it from becoming a reality. The lesson I cherish the most is how important it is to love what you do. If you love what you do and it's making you happy, all the hard work and perseverance will pay off. When you know you're truly giving it your all, there's no greater feeling in the world. I encourage you to always be curious, always seek out things you love, and always work hard once you find it. Your dreams are up to you. Please know I'm thinking of you, supporting you, and encouraging you always. Peace. Hello, everyone. I'm so sorry I can't be with you tonight. However, I couldn't completely miss the chance to take a moment to share some thoughts with all of you. You can't stop people from trying to limit your dreams, but you can stop it from becoming a reality. The lesson I cherish the most is how important it is to love what you do. If you love what you do and it's making you happy, all the hard work and perseverance will pay off. When you know you're truly giving it your all, there's no greater feeling in the world. I encourage you to always be curious, always seek out things you love, and always work hard once you find it. Your dreams are up to you. Please know I'm thinking of you, supporting you, and encouraging you always. Peace.
Okay, so not many of you will know who this gentleman is. How many of you have heard a name called Kobe Bryant? He's probably the world's best known basketballer. He died in an accident a few years back. But Kobe Bryant was once again a guy who was an icon in the basketball arena. And he achieved things which nobody else could do. So you've got to be able to dream. Can any one of you give me an example closer to home where people who've come from underprivileged backgrounds have actually made it right to the top in their space? You can take an example of sports, or you can take an example in any arena. So I need an answer from at least one or two of you. Who's going to volunteer?
So I'll say it could be MS Dhoni. I
Correct.
mean, he's a very big cricketer. People are huge fans of MS Dhoni. And he's a small boy from Ranchi. And right now, I think just not Indians, but everyone around the world knows him. So that's a very big thing.
Absolutely. He started his career as a ticket collector in the railways, and he's grown to be the most iconic cricketer in the world. So you're absolutely correct. Can anybody give me one more example? Anybody?
J.K. Rowling comes from a small, poor family.
Absolutely. And what does J.K. Rowling today do? J.K. Rowling today is one of the most famous writers that you can look at in the world. Is that all of you are on the same page? So there's a message that is conveyed through these two videos. Who's going to volunteer and tell me what that message is? Somebody else?
Sir, can
I
you
think
repeat?
what the videos try to tell us was that it's very important to actually love what you're trying to do in order to be successful. And as everyone tells us that it's very important to follow our passions, because at the end of the day, it's really important to actually like what you're doing in order to be successful.
Absolutely. So you've got to be passionate about what you do. You've got to follow through and never feel scared to dream. But when you dream, you've got to make sure you work hard towards making those dreams a reality. It's not just going to happen because you dream. You've got to work towards making those dreams a reality. And having said that, let me tell you, the startup space or the entrepreneurship space is never easy. Entrepreneurship and startups, for those of you who choose to go into that space, are challenging. They can be trying and testing, and they can give you a lot of anxious moments. But you've got to have a mindset which is positive. You've got to have a mindset which tells you, hey, I've got to keep going. I know and I believe in this, and this will work. So this just sets the tone for what we will discuss and discover over the next probably 60 odd minutes. And we'll try and kind of understand what are the best ways of going further, or what are the best ways of ensuring that we can all come out winners out of this. So let me take you to sorry, I don't know why this video is playing again and again. Okay, this should. Great. Can you all see my screen?
Yes, sir.
So,
Okay, excellent. So let's get on to the startup and entrepreneurship business ecosystem. So across the world, whether you're in India or you're in any other economy or any other geographical part of the world, if you're keen to look at the global business ecosystem or the startup ecosystem, there are 5 components, and each one of these components is similar no matter where you go. So the first component that's a very major stepping stone into the business or the startup ecosystem is at your level where you are, you're taking in the education in colleges and universities. So who are the people who play a very key and critical role in the ecosystem in the education space? Students, alumni, and faculty. So you as students play an extremely vital role because you discuss with each other, you come up with ideas. Your alumni plays a very, very critical role because they share experiences with you. And your faculty plays an extremely critical role because they facilitate the entire sharing of knowledge. In your own college and in universities and educational institutions across the world, you've seen the creation of entrepreneurship cells. Why has that been done? That's been done because entrepreneurship is now recognized as an extremely critical and crucial part of the entire economic development of a country. And it has to start when you're students. So you get the knowledge, you get the ideas, you start working on them, and then taking them to the next level. Within the educational ecosystem itself, you've got incubation centers that have been created for you to make use of the infrastructure, the expertise that others have, funding opportunities, and for you to refine and to take all your startups or business ideas to the next level. So one pillar out of the 5 is the educational ecosystem where you rest in currently. And that's the basis. So you build from there. Without this pillar, nothing else will happen. Let's talk about the second pillar, which is industry. Industry comprises of corporates, enterprises, and small and medium enterprises. So large business houses or medium-sized enterprises or small-sized enterprises, they're all looking at new ideas, new technologies, disrupting some areas, looking at problem statements. All of them are looking for answers. Who do they get their answers from? They get their answers from working professionals. They get their answers through research and development cells that they have in their own enterprises. Or they get their answers from innovation and new ventures that are created outside their organizations, which they can access. So industry is the second pillar. The third pillar is ecosystem of startups across geographies. What does this comprise of? It comprises of incubators, accelerators, investors, networks, and free zones and studios. What do these do? These actually create infrastructure for you to make use of. Now, who makes use of these infrastructure? It's co-founders, founders, mentors, investors, and startups as a whole. This is the third pillar of the entire ecosystem. The fourth pillar, which is extremely critical, without which you will find it extremely difficult to actually go about making good use of the entire startup scenario, are governments and policymakers. So each country, and you can take India as a prime example. India, until about 12 to 15 years ago, had an absolute zero as far as startups were concerned. It's only in the last 12 to 15 years that you've seen India become a hub for startups. And the government has played a very large role in that. They've created an ecosystem. They've created enablers to ensure that we are able to create today what is known as the third largest startup ecosystem in the world. Now, who are the key and critical players, or what are the key and critical players that play a major role, and where can the government come in and support? Government can come in and support from an education perspective or from a skill development perspective. So I don't know, if how many of you are aware, but until probably 4 or 5 years back, there was nothing known as a bachelor's or a master's degree in entrepreneurship or innovation. Today, I'm sure a lot of you who are already looking at further development could possibly be looking at entrepreneurship and development or innovation as potential courses for you to do at a postgraduate level. Innovation has become huge. So innovation plays a huge role in any economy. How does that happen? Innovation looks at problems. What are the problems in your local economy and how do you solve them? Entrepreneurship. India is known as a land of entrepreneurs. Indians are known to be sitting around the world and running right from the smallest businesses, which are corner shops, to the largest of corporations, where they have built them from scratch and taken them up to a large level. Let's look at what youth can do, what women can do, what labor can do, and what economy can do. Yeah, you can find solutions through help with the government, and you can make sure that problems at a local level are solved and solutions are found. The last and a hugely critical piece in economies like us in India are the social impact development space. So you've got to understand that as a developing country, we have a lot of people below the poverty line, and people below the poverty line need a lot of social impact, support, and development to actually stand on their own feet. So there are agencies across the world, within the country, that will help you look at how to build social impact for local economies. So some examples are the UNDP. What is the UNDP? It's the United Nations Development Program, the World Bank, the Ashoka Fellowships, USAID. You can look at Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. So these are agencies that across the world are supporting social impact programs, fellowships, etc., on an ongoing basis. Now, let's talk about this a little bit, and let's try and understand where these 5 pillars stand for each other. So let's Let me open the floor to all of you. I think I want all of you to unmute yourself. Please unmute yourself, all of you. Guys, please unmute yourself. All of you, please unmute yourself. Please unmute yourself. I don't see any. I see very few people unmuting themselves. Okay. Good. Tell me, out of the 5 pillars, which pillar do you come under? Hitin?
Sir, could you just repeat?
Sorry?
Sir, I could not hear you.
Okay. Out of the 5 pillars that we just looked at, which pillar do you as an individual or as an institution come in?
Sir, of course, education one because I'm studying in a college, so for the first pillar.
The first pillar.
Education one.
Okay. Dhruv, what
Yes.
about you?
Yes, sir. We also belong to the education pillar because we are in the university and campus. So we belong to the first pillar.
Okay. Have you looked at entrepreneurship as an option for yourself, or you've not looked at entrepreneurship?
So it's obviously an option for myself because I'm trying to look at, I'm trying to be a successful entrepreneur in my future. And joining this entrepreneurship development cell was one of the ways in order to start my journey in entrepreneurship.
Which one of these 5 pillars have, or you are in the first pillar already? What are the other 4 pillars that you have looked at or you've been through?
So mainly I would say the startup ecosystem pillar. We've gone through many startups, and now as Shark Tank India is so in picture, everyone is looking and about looking the different startups. So we're all getting to know how many new startups are building, and it drives us. It drives our mind to start get more ideas, become innovative, and start a startup ourselves.
Okay. Okay. One more individual. I want one of the girls to give me the answer. Where do you stay? So, Palak, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Where do you stand, Palak? Have you looked at entrepreneurship as an option? And if so, what are those pillars that you've familiarized yourself with?
Yes, so definitely. I think entrepreneurship in today's world is the way the world will proceed ahead because everyone wants to do something of their own. And because jobs are getting redundant as the days are passing. And so, according to me, one of the very important pillars of being a successful entrepreneur overall is to firstly have clarity about the kind of venture or startup you want to establish in future. Because sir, unless and until someone has clarity, they will never be able to implement or even stick with their venture plan. So I think so that is very important.
Okay. Thank you. Bhavika? Bhavika, are you there? Okay. We don't have Bhavika. Zara?
Yes, sir.
What about you, Zara? What are your thoughts about on
So
these
I
5?
definitely think with like the how the world is changing at such a fast pace, entrepreneurship is becoming exceedingly like very popular, especially among the youth, like the people between age between 20 to 30. They are many people are starting their own ventures and they are very proud of it. And like as Dhruv mentioned, Shark Tank India, it's a great platform where the entire country is getting to know a lot about entrepreneurship and they're getting the courage to start their own thing and to stop their monotonous or mundane life. So they're getting the encouragement.
What about you? What have you thought? Have you ever thought of getting into entrepreneurship?
Yes, I do think right now it's not that like I'm not working towards it right now because obviously we are in college. I'm still gaining all the knowledge, but definitely once I in a few years, I definitely think it's something I want to do. Start something of my own.
Excellent. Good. Okay. Let's move to the next slide. The next slide is what is going to share the tone for our further discussion. So, how do we foster a thriving business or a startup ecosystem? So, what you've got to understand is that startups or small and medium enterprises in a country like India are actually the lifeblood of the entire business ecosystem. Now, why are they a lifeblood of an entire business ecosystem? So, how many of you, give me a show of hands, are aware that small and medium enterprises and startups between themselves form close to 70% of the entire companies that are registered in this country? How many of you know about that? Show of hands. Can I have a show of hands? No? Okay. Let me tell you about this. So, startups and small and medium enterprises form close to 70% of all the registered entities in this country. Now, what are those registered entities? These are entities that are registered under the Government of India. Now, the Government of India has a process where every company that is within the ecosystem has to be registered as an entity. And this company has to be monitored for all its development. It has to file taxes. It can get a lot of support from within the entire ecosystem. It can also ensure that it employs people. We track its progress. We're able to see where we can take these startups and these businesses. So you've got to understand that the role that a startup or a small and medium enterprise plays in the entire ecosystem is extremely important. 80%, between 70 and 80% of all companies within the country are in the small and medium enterprise or the startup space. Let's look at some examples. Now, why do we say startups are the lifeblood of an entire ecosystem? For two or three very, very clear-cut ideas. One is startup brings in a tremendous amount of innovation and dynamism into an entire ecosystem. It brings in fresh ideas. What it does is it ensures that you look at problem statements and you find solutions. Yeah. So startups create a tremendous amount of disruption. Let's look at an example. I'm sure all of you use Uber as a business. And Uber is something that revolutionized the transport industry across the world. It created a new business model and it ensured that people or ecosystems become competitive. Now, let's talk about Uber a little bit. What did Uber do? Uber ensured that your traditional taxis no longer have a monopoly, and you can have a taxi on demand. Prices are dynamic, and you've got it all at short notice. You are not dependent on people telling you, I won't take you there, or I won't take you there, or all sorts of unhealthy practices. So Uber is one such disruption in the startup space across the world that was created. And That's something which everybody knows around the world. It's something which has created huge disruptions, not just in one country, but across the world. So I need another volunteer. Let's talk about one Indian startup that has created a tremendous amount of disruption. So, Ria, can I ask you to come up with an example? Give me an example of what is an Indian startup that has created a tremendous amount of disruption.
Yes, sir, sure. So, sir, the startup say grow,
Sorry?
grow.
Yeah, grow.
So, grow has increased, like the factor grow started really small, but then it became a unicorn very fast, and the way it has impacted India is great.
So tell us, what impact has it had on the fintech ecosystem?
Sorry, sir.
What impact has it had? What impact has Grow had? What does Grow do for people?
So, sir, Grow basically helps in the stock market, and it has also it's also related to Zerodha when it acquired that. So, it really helps people in order to invest, and it helps people to buy stocks, and stock market is really important in today's day. So, it really guides people in order to help them grow in the stock market.
Okay, it extends the reach to people who would not normally have had access into the stock market ecosystem. It
Yes,
can be accessed from a village, it can be accessed from a tier 3 town, tier 2 town, and from one of the larger metro cities, all on a mobile. Correct?
true, sir.
That's
Yes.
that's the disruption it's brought into the ecosystem. Okay. Siddhant, can you give me another example? An Indian
Sure,
startup?
sir. Sir, I can think of Boat, sir. Boat is one company which has caused like way too much disruption in the headphone industry, and it is also the second most valuable, I guess, second largest in the world when it comes to accessories like earphones, headphones, etc.
Excellent. So it's made music or audio accessories access available at a cheaper price to the masses. So
Yes,
that's the
catering more to
disruption.
the Indian market.
Correct. It's the disruption that has come into the Indian market. Excellent. Very good. Let's move on to the next piece. Okay. Okay. Let's look at job creation as a topic. Now, what startups do very well is they come into your local economy and they create jobs for you. And they also stimulate consumer spending. So what they do is they help people with convenience. They ensure that what you require is all done at the touch of a button. But at the same time, they also ensure that there's a tremendous amount of job creation that is put into the ecosystem. So just a couple of facts that are important for you to keep in mind. During the 2005 to probably 2015 time period, startups did a majority of the entire net job creation in the US. And the US is today the largest startup ecosystem in the world. It just gives you an example of what startups can do. Now, in India, in the last few years, let's take the last 5 years, 12.50 lakh jobs have been created within the startup ecosystem. And this has the potential of actually scaling up manifold. That's what startups can do within the local ecosystem. Job creation is important for any economy. It's important for youth. Now, without jobs, you will have discontentment and various other issues coming up. So startups create an environment for you to be able to bring in jobs into the local economy. Startups bring in a lot of tech to create innovation. And two of the best examples of people bringing in tech into the local environment and creating innovation are WeWork and Airbnb. Now, who knows the story of WeWork and who knows the story of Airbnb? Pradyumna, are you familiar with either one of these? Muskan?
Yes, sir.
What is your perspective on WeWork and Airbnb? What did WeWork and Airbnb do from a tech perspective to leverage and bring in innovation into the ecosystem?
So, as far as I remember, I think Airbnb initially wasn't doing very well, and seeing how the role of aesthetics and beauty play, I think they really tapped on into that and boomed their business by taking good pictures of houses and rooms. So initially through that, and now expanding across countries and cities by taking up players in the market and setting up their homes as temporary stays. I think we are adding on more members.
Okay, let me give you the story of WeWork and Airbnb. So WeWork is something in the real estate space where office spaces, which are shared office spaces, are made accessible to anybody and everybody. How did they do this? The real estate is one part of it. But how did tech play a role? Everything in WeWork is tech enabled. Now, I'm sure all of you have been into a WeWork facility or you've seen a WeWork facility, if not been into it. WeWork is one of the most convenient office spaces in the world. Everything is available in a shared mode. Everything is available at the touch of a button. A large WeWork building, which is many, many floors large, can actually be managed by just a handful of people because they deploy technology. They have reach and they're very accessible. Similarly, for Airbnb, what did Airbnb do? Airbnb created, so Airbnb is one of the most valuable companies in the world, but it has zero assets of its own. Airbnb does not own any assets at all. How did they do this? They are one of the most valuable companies in the world. Airbnb, all they did was they created a tech platform. They innovated a tech platform which connected people who owned homes, who owned apartments with each other. And they created an ecosystem where they created standards. They created policies and procedures to welcome people into their own homes and to look after them in a standardized manner. So they created property managers, they created hosts. How many of you have, I'm sure all of you have stayed or you will know what an Airbnb does for you. Airbnb essentially connects homeowners or apartment owners who have spare capacity available with them and allows people who are traveling or tourists, for example, to access their homes through an ecosystem of an app and make bookings and be able to host them in their homes. So Airbnb gave people an opportunity to actually experience local hospitality. These two are actually one of the most amazing examples of tech leveraging the entire ecosystem or the entire environment around you to ensure that they connect people around the world and within the local ecosystem. So when you have time, go and study the success stories of Airbnb and WeWorks. So These two are extremely critical for you guys to know. Perfect examples of what Airbnb or what tech can do to your business. Some key and critical tips for startups to succeed. You've got to embrace collaboration. Don't think that you can be within yourself and succeed. You've got to be able to collaborate. You've got to be able to ensure that you work with like-minded people, companies across the world in order to ensure that you've got a collaborative mindset. You've got to also engage with the local communities to build brand awareness and customer loyalty. Let's look at probably what is the best case study of a of collaboration of an ecosystem being built. I'm sure all of you know what an ecosystem is. Does anybody have any questions on what an ecosystem is? Dhruv? Dhruv? You there? No? Okay. I can see Pradyumna. Pradyum, do you know what an ecosystem is?
Yes, sir. So basically, an ecosystem is a type of platform where you can interact with like many individuals and provide you with the resources that you require.
Okay.
Like,
Okay. How many of you know, or how many of you have heard about Silicon Valley? Akshita, have you heard about the Silicon Valley?
No, sir.
Okay. Who has heard about the Silicon Valley? Who knows what the Silicon Valley is? Siddharth? Siddharth?
So I'm not quite sure, but is it related to the US software industry?
Yes, it is. It's not just the software industry. The Silicon Valley is an area in the US which was initially created as an ecosystem where companies came together and they built a collaborative framework. What is that collaborative framework? Collaborative framework is where companies, technologies, mentors, manpower, financing ecosystems, and government came together and said, let's create this area as a innovation hub. Let's create this where we can build companies that can go out and be the best in the world in the tech space. So Silicon Valley is based out of California, and California and Silicon Valley are always spoken hand in hand. Some of the best tech companies in the world are housed in the Silicon Valley. So Google, Facebook, Microsoft, they're all headquartered in Silicon Valley in the US. Now, why was Silicon Valley so successful? Silicon Valley was so successful because like-minded companies came together, pooled their resources, and collaborated with each other to make sure that the entire ecosystem was friendly. And people did what was required to ensure that that entire area churns out world-beating companies. Now, who can tell me what is considered to be the Silicon Valley of India? Gaurav, Gaurav, are you there? No? Okay. Muskan?
So is it Bangalore?
Absolutely. Why do people call Bangalore the Silicon Valley of India?
Because it is the nation's leading IT, exporter. That's why. Because information technology is really, growing and high in that area of our country. So I guess.
What happens within Bangalore? How is the ecosystem working? What are the critical components of the ecosystem?
So as far as I know, the number of startups there and the working culture there is really good, and people are generally focused. Everyone is working, and the startup culture, as I said, and the technological aspect in that part of the country is really high.
Excellent. Now, what is the meaning of an ecosystem? The meaning of an ecosystem is where you create an environment which helps businesses thrive. So Bangalore is considered to be a great place to go and gain good education. Yeah, that's a very critical component because it helps you get the right kind of manpower. Bangalore is a place where a huge amount of investment has happened in terms of new companies coming and setting up there. Bangalore is a place where a lot of venture capital and funding opportunities or organizations have their headquarters. And Bangalore is a place where the work culture that you just mentioned, an easy work culture has been extremely prevalent. These are extremely key components in how you create a startup ecosystem. So, like in Silicon Valley, India has Bangalore. What are the other startup ecosystems in India? Anybody knows? Who's going to answer? One volunteer. Nitya?
Yes, sir.
What are the other startup ecosystems in India? No? Okay, no problem. Sohani?
Yes, sir.
What are the other startup ecosystems in India other than Bangalore?
So I don't have any idea about it. I'm not very sure.
Sorry?
Sir, I don't have any idea about it. I'm not very sure.
Okay. So the other startup ecosystems within India are Hyderabad is the next big thing. Delhi and Gurgaon and Noida are coming up aggressively. Chennai is coming up aggressively. Mumbai Pune belt is coming up aggressively. Everybody wants to be in the startup space. Everybody wants to encourage innovation and entrepreneurship. So the startup ecosystem across the country is growing very, very rapidly. Let's look at the next piece. Okay. Startups are known for their creativity and disruption. What do startups do? Startups drive a hunger for change and a desire to solve complex problems. What are those complex problems? Let's look at pain points that are there within an economy or innovation that needs to be created within an economy. Now, what's extremely important there is to look at groundbreaking ideas. Let's look at some companies. How many of you know of a company called NVIDIA? Do you know of a company called NVIDIA? Anybody knows about NVIDIA?
Yes.
Who was that?
So, Siddhan.
Siddhan, tell me a little about what you know about NVIDIA, Siddhan.
So it is a semiconductor chip manufacturing company based in US.
Okay.
And in recent years, it has garnered a lot of attention because of its rapid growth and high valuation in the global market. And sir, it also many software companies like Intel, etc., are also collaborating with NVIDIA to manufacture their CPUs and other software hardware components.
Okay. So the answer to this is NVIDIA does something which is a very critical component in anything you do on a daily basis, whether you use a laptop or a mobile phone or you use a car or anything you do. What's the most critical component in that? It's something called a chip. Now, a chip is like a brain. It drives the entire machine forward. And without that chip, this machine will not move forward. NVIDIA is the largest producer and the most well-known producer of chips in the world. And chips drive the entire ecosystem. They drive your machines. How many of you know that chips are now also driving people? I don't know how many of you have heard, but Elon Musk came out with a company which has now inserted a chip in a human brain. How many of you know about that? Have you read about it? Have you heard about it? No? Okay. So even a human brain can be programmed now. Read about it, Google about it. I don't want to tell you too much about it. I'd like you to go and explore this yourself. Elon Musk has actually started experimenting with human chips, with chips being inserted inside a human brain.
So they've gotten approvals by the FDA for the planting of the chips as well, right? I read about that sometime back.
You read about it.
And
Can
they're
you
trying to basically ensure that they can plant a chip inside the brain which you can interact with. In the beginning, they'll just be very low efficient chips, but their plan is to make sure that in the future, you're able to just not even have to use a phone and just interact with the web through the chip itself when you're thinking about something.
Absolutely. So try and understand what NVIDIA is trying to do. NVIDIA is building a system which is built on the power of artificial intelligence.
Yes,
I'm
sir.
sure all of you know what artificial intelligence is. Yeah, and I'm sure a lot of you would be using it in your daily activity or exploring it. I'm sure a lot of you use ChatGPT and other similar tools. What is all that? All that is artificial intelligence. It gives you the power of thinking and finding answers without doing too much of research. So NVIDIA is a company which around the world is today driving a huge amount of innovation. What's happening in India? India was never a producer of chips. I'm sure all of you have heard the government has now started pushing chip development in India in a major way. And there are a lot of companies now from over the world that are coming and setting up joint ventures and collaborations for chip development with Indian companies. Chips are critical for development of the entire ecosystem. And NVIDIA is the biggest player in that. Let's look at Microsoft. What is Microsoft known for? Microsoft is known for the innovation in the software space that it puts on the table. It gives you Microsoft 365, it gives you MS Project, it's given you Excel, it's given you Word, PowerPoint, etc., etc. All this is innovation. YouTube, I'm sure all of you look at YouTube. YouTube is an innovation. Who could imagine that on your phone, just by looking at YouTube, you could get any sort of information, be it knowledge, be it entertainment, be it anything at all. And you could just access it through videos, short videos on your cell phone. OpenAI. OpenAI is once again, the father of ChatGPT, etc. Who could imagine that you just type in keywords and you get all the answers there and then? Google. What did Google do? It revolutionized the way we look at technology. WhatsApp. All of you, I'm sure, use WhatsApp. What did WhatsApp do for us? WhatsApp revolutionized the way we actually communicated with each other. So these were all creative and disruptive technology innovations. Now, these were the ones that were extremely well known. But I want you to listen to a few of these names which were not so well known, but were huge phenomenons across the world. There's a company called Hyrox, Hyrox, which is in the fitness space. Go and explore it sometime. There's a company called Zipline in the drone space, which has revolutionized drone delivery across the world. There's a company called Mill Industries, which has revolutionized garbage disposal across the world. Redwood Materials, which has revolutionized the recycling of EV battery materials. I'm sure all of you are aware that with the proliferation of EVs, battery materials, which is lithium ion, is a commodity which can be very dangerous and harmful to the environment if it's not handled properly. So companies are now looking at handling that. So these are some companies which are great, examples or great case studies for you to go and study at some time. Let's look at what else startups can do. Startups have a great capability of attracting talent, people who are adventurous, people who want to explore. I'm sure all of you have heard of SpaceX. Let's talk about SpaceX a little. Yeah. Who's going to volunteer and tell me what did SpaceX do? Anybody?
So SpaceX makes rockets right now, and they're planning on launching. I mean, they have launched commercial flight, airspace travel for Indians, like for the world, where you can actually board a ticket and visit space if you want to.
Yeah. So SpaceX has opened a new frontier for you. Most innovative. SpaceX was the first private company which actually opened spaceship travel for you around the world. And this was another one of Elon Musk's companies. So Elon Musk, I'm sure all of you know, the man behind what was Twitter earlier and now is X, the man behind Tesla, the man behind SpaceX. So these are some of his innovative and disruptive technology companies. So SpaceX was the leader in so-called what we call democratizing space travel for the common man. As a common man, you should be able to go and explore space at some time or the other. It's still expensive. Why? Because it's still in its exploratory stage. But people are going up into space. There have been commercial travel done through SpaceX. At some later stage, you may also see people traveling through SpaceX or through other similar organizations across the world without too much of a problem and at very affordable rates. So SpaceX as an organization has been a world leader and extremely disruptive. Let's talk about collaboration and partnerships. Anything in a startup ecosystem needs to be supported by collaboration and partnerships. I'm sure all of you know of a company called IBM. A lot of you may be using software or may have heard of them, or you may have used machines. There may be servers in your tech infrastructure in your college which come from IBM. So IBM is one of the most innovative technology companies around the world. IBM has a business for startups, and IBM has a division called IBM Watson X Prize. IBM Watson X Prize is one of the most amazing collaboration and partnerships that have been created around the world that focuses on research on artificial intelligence technologies. And what IBM does is IBM sponsors these companies, but whatever AI technologies or new innovations that are built, IBM helps take them to the market. So one of the most critical pieces in the startup space is creativity, innovation, and disruption. Startups focus on that. They focus on job creation. They focus on making sure that pain points in the local economy are very, very easily handled. So let's take a short breather here and let me open the floor out to any discussions. So all of you.
So sorry to interrupt, but so we have some questions from the audience.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Let's open the floor out, and whatever those questions are from the audience, start shooting them one by one.
Sure, sir. So as a former partner and CEO at at the Sustainability Fund, I'm sure you have witnessed the profounding long-term advantages of sustainability. However, is there any way startups can incorporate sustainable practices and enjoy its benefits in the short run without hampering operations?
Okay, so sustainability is a very broadly defined term. There are many people who define sustainability in many different ways. So what is sustainability for me? There are two words, there are two different terminologies that go hand in hand. One is ESG. ESG is environment sustainability. And sustainability is to ensure that you build ecosystems, enterprises, startups, etc., which are sustainable, which are self-sufficient, and which are able to sustain their growth, their development, etc., well into the future. So what have I done? I've built organizations which have lasted for many, many years and which continue to grow now. So that for me is a sustainable organization. But in this particular context, I believe whoever has asked this question is trying to understand what are the environment sustainability practices that you want to build into an ecosystem. Is my understanding correct?
Yes, sir. Thank you for your thoughtful answer, sir.
Yeah. So environmental sustainability can be looked at in many different ways. Environmental sustainability can be looked at adopting green practices. I'll give you one small example of environmental sustainability and how it can be incorporated into a startup or an organization. If from day one, you plan your organization to be a paperless organization, you can build e-visiting cards, you can have everything done virtually. You need not use any paper. You've incorporated what we call an environmentally sustainable practice within your own organization. There are several such examples. You can choose not to use plastics. So a lot of companies are now switching to no plastics within. So a lot of supermarkets, for example, that you go into, have now stopped giving you plastic bags. They're now giving you recyclable material. That is an environmentally sustainable practice. Correct? Now, a lot of companies are now beginning to look at recycling waste. Waste could be recycled in terms of food products of, let's say, hotels or restaurants or various other pieces, or it could be pure play plastics. It could be EV batteries. It could be anything at all. Those are environmentally sustainable practices. I hope I've answered the question.
Yes, sir. Thank you for your thoughtful answer. So there are more questions. Can I ask them right now?
Please go ahead. Please go ahead.
What strategies do you find crucial for empowering startups and small businesses to thrive in today's competitive landscape?
Okay. So the most critical piece in today's competitive landscape, you will hear a lot of startups succeeding, but you will hear a lot of startups also failing. Let me give you an example. One of the biggest examples of failure in today's startup ecosystem is a company which I'm sure all of you are very, very familiar with. And I'm sure some of you would also have used it, is Byju's. I'm sure all of you have heard of Byju's. Yes? Just give me a yes.
Yes, sir.
Excellent. So Byju's is one such company that built itself purely on the principles of valuation. Valuation is not a strong fundamental to work on. You've got to build on a fundamental of building a sustainable business. A sustainable business is you've got to make sure that your costs and your expenditure measure up. You've got to make sure that you build an ecosystem or a business where you're able to sell. You have to make sure you are able to balance the books someday, which means that's where the sustainability aspect in any business comes up. So in today's day and age, you've got to make sure that these are pieces that are really looked after. The bottom line is the fundamentals of your business should be strong. Don't build a business purely on valuations. Build a business on a sustainable business model. What does a sustainable business model do? It means that you're making products and services which your customers want. You're making products and services that can be sold. You're making products and services that are serviceable. You're making products and services that you can generate profits out. That is what is fundamentally important today. That's what a sustainable business model is today. And that's probably the most critical thing that any startup in today's day and age or any enterprise in today's day and age needs to look for. Yeah. Next question.
Yes, sir. Thank you for enlightening us on the question. Our next question is, what key principles guide your approach to leadership and mentorship, especially in guiding startups and young?
Okay. So I think young entrepreneurs, leadership, mentorship. So firstly, startups are never an easy, or business is never an easy path to follow. It requires a lot of guts. It requires a lot of perseverance. So one of the things that a good leader has is a good leader always perseveres. A good leader always ensures that they lead by example. A good leader always ensures that he or she thinks about things quite well and make sure they think them through. So good leadership, perseverance, persistence, patience. These are key in successful startup leadership stories in today's day. Do you have any more questions?
Yes, sir. So thank you for your valuable answer. So due to the paucity of time, so this is we're gonna take the last question for today. Um, so how do you foster cross-border partnerships and drive global expansion for Indian businesses while promoting sustainability?
Okay. So I'll give you my own example. We've created a business which spans across Asia, Middle East, and Africa. So we're building a bridge between three continents, which are probably 60% of the world's population. How are we doing this? We've created a virtual ecosystem where startups can come and discuss, talk about what they're doing, and collaborate with similar startups or with similar ecosystems across the world. They can collaborate with them, they can exchange information, they can build or co-build products together. They can look at new markets. They can look at what they can do with each other's ecosystem in each other's economies. They can look at how they can integrate with different products across the world. Essentially, what they build is they build collaboration and they build partnerships. That's the ecosystem we've created. We've created that ecosystem in close to 50 odd countries currently. And these 50 odd countries, what we're able to do is we are able to seamlessly put on a platform and help people look and talk to each other. So what you've got to do is you've got to do what we call is creating a bridge. So that's what we've done. That's what we believe is required. That's what we believe. See, today everything is digital. People do not have a problem. Accessibility in terms of internet, in terms of mobile phones, etc., is quite easy. India is probably one of those nations which has the highest penetration of internet anywhere in the world. Now, we've got to be mindful of that, and we've got to make sure we ride on that and we create opportunities for our people. We create opportunities for them to grow not just within the country, but also outside. So I think those are the things that drive us as an organization. We make use of opportunities. We make use of creating bridges across cultures, across economies, across regions. We make use of what we call a borderless world today. Today, from my perspective, the world is borderless. You are able to sit on your laptop and talk to somebody instantly in the UK, in the US, or in South Africa, or in the Middle East, or in Australia. That was not possible when we were kids. For us, it was a mere dream. You are able to do that. So the world is borderless. You've got to create an entire borderless ecosystem, and you've got to make sure that you're able to use what is given to you to create not just a local product or a service, but to create a global product and service. And today you're able to do that. Laws allow you to do it. The ecosystem allows you to do it. And several other pieces allow you. So I hope that answers your question.
Yes, sir. Thank you for your insightful answer.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you for another 5 minutes. Is that possible?
Oh, sure, sir.
Okay, I just want to go back and show you one or two more things. And I'm going to then leave this presentation with you guys. You can share it amongst yourself. Okay. I've put down some facts and figures for you guys to look at from an employment perspective. And what are those employment perspectives that have been created by various organizations? One of you spoke about Grow. Look at another company called Urban Company. Look at Zepto. Look at Delivery, Ola, Fed. Look at all these companies and understand what kind of employment they've created for people. What are companies you can look at globally from a collaboration and networking perspective? I'm sure a lot of you would have heard about Slack. It's a networking platform. If you haven't, go explore it. See what Slack can do for you. Go and look at, I'm sure a lot of you use Microsoft Teams, Zoom, etc. Yeah, those are all collaboration and networking platforms. There are others, Asana, Trello, Dropbox, and the most common one, which a lot of you or probably all of you will use, is Google Drive. So I think those are some of the things that you should always go out and explore. Now, this is like a Bible. It's a gospel. The one startup that has revolutionized the entire world is Amazon. And I'm sure all of you have used Amazon. Amazon was started in '94, and it's grown to be the largest e-commerce company and probably the largest technology company in the world. Amazon has created millions of jobs worldwide, not just for themselves within Amazon, but they've created a network of jobs. They've created sellers, they've created delivery partners, and service providers. This is the true meaning of an entire ecosystem. This is the true meaning of a global ecosystem. So when you study an ecosystem, there's no better example than Amazon. What are the other components? You need to look at funding, you need to look at incubators and accelerators. Funding comes at a much later stage. You need to get through the idea stage, you need to get through, building your products and trying to bring them to a stage where you take them out to market. And those are things we can discuss in greater detail, or you can connect with me one-on-one. Very, very happy to share my experiences with you on that. Thank you very much. Any other questions? Let me know. I'm available. I'm available on LinkedIn. I will send this. I will send this presentation out to you. You can keep it on your library or your inside your ecosystem. And if anybody wants to take a look at it or anybody has questions on it, my email ID is also there. You can find me on LinkedIn, and I'll be happy to connect with any of you. So from me, thank you very much. And if you guys have any more questions or any comments, please feel free.
Thank you so much, sir. The form for the 5 hours of non-academic credits will be rolled out soon.
As we conclude this insightful session, we are confident that the valuable insights shared today will benefit our attendees in their future pursuits. Mr. Anand has truly embodied the essence of life by inspiring us to pursue our dreams while positively impacting others. On the behalf of the Entrepreneurship Development Cell of St. Xavier's College, Autonomous, Kolkata, I sincerely thank Mr. Anand for very generously sharing his vast knowledge and experience. It is an absolute honor and privilege to host such a distinguished personality. A special mention to our respected principal, Reverend Dr. Dominic Savio SJ, and our vice principals, Reverend Dr. Joseph Kullantai SJ, Reverend Dr. Peter Rokim SJ, and Professor Bertram da Silva for encouraging us to pursue greatness and live up to the great Xaverian reputation. I also thank our faculty advisor, Dr. Arup Kumar Mitra, for his leading supervision and support at every step. We sincerely acknowledge our attendees for being patient and interactive, as well as for putting forth such compelling questions. Last but not the least, I extend a deep sense of appreciation for all the support, timely implementation, and guidance provided by the members of the Entrepreneurship Development Cell. Once again, thank you all for tuning in with EDC. Have a pleasant day.
Thank you. Good luck and goodbye.
Thank you, sir.